The world of AI can seem like a whole new language. There's so many new terms and new words that are thrown around, and the research and the model development in the AI space just keeps going faster and faster. So I wanted to put this video together to refresh that vocabulary or teach you a little bit more vocabulary by learning your ABCs of AI. So let's jump right in. Start with A. So you might think A is for AI, but actually A is for algebra, as in linear algebra, because at the end of the day, all these large language models and all these AI applications, they're all using linear algebra under the hood, which is just linear regression where you specify like coefficients, all in linear terms. B is for brain, aka neural networks. Just as it's easy to forget that language models at the end of the day are just using linear algebra, it's also easy to forget that they're using linear algebra in these models called neural networks. And essentially you have these things called neurons, where each neuron has a linear function that tries to adjust the coefficients and predict a certain value. And those outputs go into inputs of other nodes. And so essentially you just have this whole system of linear equations that end up helping the model create predictions, which is how AI applications can predict what the answer is to a question that you might ask it. C is for ChatGPT. It's almost ubiquitous with AI right now on ChatGPT, OpenAI, but there's a lot of other model providers out there. And I want to shout out sort of one of the earliest language models, and that's Google BERT. It was one of the first encoding models versus ChatGPT really popularized these generative models, which basically generate new data, new images, new videos using existing photos and videos from the past. But there's some other really popular models. If you're in the coding space, you're a programmer, you probably heard of Claude, sort of a better LLM for coding. And Grok and Twitter and X are really trying to push their own models as well. So there's more out there than just ChatGPT. D is for dang. I can do so much. I'm sure a lot of people have seen those like Studio Ghibli showcases where you can give ChatGPT a picture and it can do it in like, it can convert it to formats. You can ask it to add certain things. And so it's really impressive how much it can do. It started out as can help you write and summarize things. Then it could help you code. Now its ability to make images and videos from existing images or through text, it's pretty impressive. E is for embeddings. We talked about already how at the end of the day, these models are all using linear algebra, all using neural networks. But how do we go from words to these numbers, these linear equations? And that's through vector embeddings, which is essentially converting words into just an array of numbers where each coefficient represents a certain like part of that word and how it relates to other words. And that's how in early days, when we talk about like natural language models, is really relating how close is one word to another, such as like man with woman or king with queen. It's taking these fundamentals, but just taking it to the next level by training it on large corpuses of text. F is for founders, because you probably noticed a lot of new companies are being started, whether it's through YC or new startups. They're all applying AI to specific use cases, some for construction, some for legal, and they're just finding spaces where AI can be more and more specifically tuned for that task or that industry. G is for generative AI. I mentioned this a little bit already, but there's sort of models that are just going beyond text. DALL-E is one of the first image models where you can generate image by giving a description of what you want the image to be. Sora is a text to video. But generative AI, I think, is really what helped take AI and made it more and more popular. ChatGPT was actually, I think, one of the first generative AI models released in 2022. And it really got generative AI in the hands of everyday people and made it really accessible. And, one of their missions of OpenAI at first was to democratize AI. And I think they did that at first, but now it's debatable whether they're still doing that or not. If generative AI can create new things out of existing data, is it going to replace us? And it is a valid question. And it's scary to think about, it's like the fact that AI can produce new things. Will there be a need for like my job or certain jobs in the current job market? And that brings us to I, and I stands for I'm not convinced yet. I think if you used AI a lot, you can still see it has a lot of shortcomings. I think what it does well is it supercharges automation. If you give it a really specific task, please summarize this paragraph in 2 sentences. You tell exactly what you want it to do. It can automate that task for you. One thing that I found really impressive is I was having these JSON strings that need to be formatted in a very specific way. And when I told ChatGPT, can you format it in this way? It was able to do that. And I was actually able to build that into my code. So in that terms, it is super impressive. It can generate like images and things like that. But I feel like these are small contained tasks and it's really good at automating them. It will definitely affect the way jobs have been done and are done. And I see that in a lot of different industries, from programming to writing. It feels like people have become like managers or overseers sometimes, maybe more than just creators, just generating output. And lastly, the reason I guess I'm not convinced, one, it has to be like really specific tests. I think that's where AI is most powerful right now. But also, I just don't think the human touch goes out of style for a long period of time. We've had maybe automated ways to make food, like fast food, machines that can do things like that, or like furniture that could be like mass produced. But there's always a space for just really personal touches, a person making your food, or like handcrafted furniture. That stuff I don't think goes out of style, so I'm not convinced yet. J is for Jack Diagrams. That's my channel. You should like and subscribe and comment, please. I'm just getting started, but yeah, any comment or feedback you have, that would really help me. K is for knowledge base. If you tried asking these AI applications like ChatGPT something about current events, it might talk to you about a cutoff date. And that's because these language models are trained on a large corpus of text, and usually they have a cutoff date and they'll tell you explicitly, hey, I was only trained on data up to a certain amount of time. That's why there are more and more new AI companies or applications that are trying to make it so you can give it fresh data or give these LLMs data specific to your company or your use case. And it's basically expanding your LLM or your AI application's knowledge base. L is for LangChain or Llama Index. These are some agent framework tools, and it's mainly used in the developer community, but there's this whole concept of agents, which are not just an LLM. They're able to extend that LLM capability to use tools and perform actions for you on your behalf. It can have memory into past conversations or past documents, and it also has specific prompts and resources and other things like that. But LangChain and Llama Index, they're like frameworks. They have their own SDKs in like Python, Node.js, and it really makes it easy for people to build AI applications. I think that's one reason why there's more founders and new companies building the cool things. And our last letter for today is money, because it's also easy to forget that LLMs aren't just like Google, right? Google, it's a search engine, right? And they do have to index the internet and crawl through all these websites. But LLMs have to be trained on a lot of text. And every time they come out with an updated model, they generally need to go through rounds and rounds of training. And they're using GPUs from like NVIDIA, and it costs a lot of money. And it's easy to forget like how much money, how much energy that actually ends up using. But that's why like Claude or OpenAI's like subscriptions are so high, like $20 a month is pretty high. At the same time, like it can do so much. And then two, it really does take a lot of energy and money to even train these models. And the fact that there's no ads as of yet, right? Google has like ads and YouTube. It's a little bit different right now. I think they're still working out what they want their business structure to be, but that's why it costs so much money to use these LLMs. And I think it's important to remember like the monetary and environmental impact of using AI applications. But that is the first half, part one of your AI ABCs. If you enjoyed this video, come back next week for the rest of the alphabet and subscribe.